Okay, we are back with another review. Not just any review. I gotta say, this is this is my book of the year from what I've read so far. This was an absolute stunner of a book, and I had extremely high expectations because I was told that this was gonna be, it's supposed to be one of the best science fiction books that you can read and all this and that. So I had really high expectations, and it exceeded the expectations. So thank you to my boy Oscar who recommended this, and that is Project Hail Mary. And this book exceeded all expectations, all of them. So first, just going over what the book is about, just a premise without spoiling too much of the book here, or I'll get into the spoilers later. Basically, you have an astronaut who wakes up in space with amnesia. He's been in a coma for, I guess, years, 4 or 5 years, and he wakes up at a distant star system. I think the star is called Tau. I'm not. I think it's Tau Ceti. I think it's called Tau Ceti. So he wakes up like 10 light years away at this other star system, with two other astronauts who are dead. So he's by himself, and he's trying to regain his memory and figure out what his purpose is. And his purpose is to save the planet because the sun is losing its power, or the sun is losing its power, and a lot of other stars around the sun, like Alpha Centauri, a lot of the local stars that are close, are also losing their power. And so he and these three astronauts were sent, or he and these two other astronauts were sent to figure out why this star is not affected, because this star that they're at, Tau Ceti, is not affected and it's not losing its power. So their job is to send information back on why that star is not affected so they can try to save the Earth. That's the premise, basically, without like spoiling anything. And so it just really, what captivated me is just from the very beginning, it just starts off with, you have this character in space who's trying to figure himself out and where he is and why he's there, and it's never revealed really totally until the end, until the very end of the book. So it keeps building on why he's there. And I think one of the main selling points for me is that this has one of the best protagonists of any book or story that I've really read or even watched. I'm talking about talking about shows and movies, because he's an imperfect protagonist, the best kind of protagonist. Like, he makes mistakes over and over and over again. He has a lot of flaws, but he also has clear strengths. But he's also likable too. Like, he's likable, and he's not likable in an edgelord kind of way. He's not an edgelord on edgy up, edgy. Ooh, like that's the new thing. Everybody's got to be an edgelord. That's not what makes him an interesting character or a likable character. So it's a very unique kind of protagonist for like a modern book, in my opinion, like a modern sci-fi book. Very unique in that way. So I think that's what sells it, really, is just a great character, a lot of character development. He has to overcome a whole lot in this story. He goes through a lot, which makes him relatable. That's, a big part of it. What I also like is it has a huge scope. I mean, because we're talking about some of the story takes place on Earth. A lot of it takes place on the Tau Ceti system, which is about like whatever 10 light years away. And then there's another planet that's related to the whole situation that I can talk about later, but I think that's kind of a spoiler, so I'll talk about that when I get to the spoiler section. But I do think I would recommend this to anybody. Like, I don't think you need to like science fiction, because it doesn't rely on like gimmicks. Like, okay, I'm just gonna throw some cool sci-fi stuff at you, and if you don't like cool sci-fi stuff, if you're not a nerd like that, you're not gonna like it. Like, I am, but it doesn't rely on that. It doesn't rely on gimmicks like excessive sex or violence and drugs. It's the same old, like, just things that get your attention, but they don't get your retention. They just get your attention, and then you just forget about it. This has a lot of depth. It's funny, great characters. Aside from the protagonist, other great characters in here too. It's fun. Doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not snobbish. Like, it's just, in my opinion, I mean, you can't get much better than this. Um, just as an overall package, just a total package of a book. Um, so, spoilers now, um, because this relates more to getting more into why I really enjoyed the book. So, if that sold you on it, which hopefully it did, I definitely recommend pressing pause or whatever, and then come back and watch it if you're interested. But I do want to discuss more of some of the themes of the book, and to do that, I kind of need to go into more spoilers. So here are the spoilers. First of all, the main character, Rylan Grace. So he's a teacher. He's a middle school teacher, and so he used to work in academia, and now he's a school teacher. And he ends up being selected for this mission, which is explained later. It's a good explanation. But when when he goes on this mission, he wakes up to find everyone, his other two astronauts that he was with, are dead. They didn't make it because they're all in a coma, and they didn't make it. This is all like in the beginning of the story. So he's the only one that's alive. But while he's at this star system in this ship, he sees another ship, which happens to be an alien ship, and there's an alien on this ship. So what they do is they work together to figure out, and so this alien comes from another star system who's also affected by this problem where their sun is losing power. And so they work together to try to figure out a solution that will save both their worlds. And so there's a lot of connection as far as they obviously they're different life forms, so they have very different cultures, customs, different languages, but they have the commonality is obviously to save the world. And so there's a lot of comedy that comes out of that, because like they're literally come from different worlds. And so just like people can come from different cultures and backgrounds, but what you have in common is stronger than what you don't. And so that was really entertaining to see these two characters interact and work together and kind of form a relationship over the course of the book, and to save their worlds. Also, there's a lot of really cool. So the science in this book. So, and this is this is the spoiler part. So it's found that the sun is losing its power because it's infected by a microbe, and so basically they're trying to figure out a way to eliminate this microbe and from their star systems, right? And there's a lot of experiments. They have to do a lot of experiments and testing and solve problems. And I like how the science is like, it's easy to understand. Like, they don't make it complicated. Like, they don't bog you down with science. You don't have to be a scientist. But I like how there's never an easy solution to anything. It's real problem solving. They solve one problem, but then that kind of creates another issue. Or there's mistakes that happen. There's oversight. There's issues that happen, and obviously, they're different life forms. So there's a lot for them to figure out. Because they come from different planets, different environments, different ecosystems, planets with different gravity. They're different beings. So there's a lot for them to figure out just with each other, let alone trying to figure out a problem as big as saving their entire species. So I think that was a selling point, is their connection, these two characters' connection. Rylan and Rocky. The other character's name is Rocky. So that's the name that he gave him, at least. So, but yeah, I think this was just a great book. Like I said, I don't think you have to be a sci-fi fan to enjoy it, and I think that you'll have a really fun time. There's supposed to be a movie coming out next March, and I think it has potential to be a great, one of the best sci-fi films. Because they got a lot to work with, a lot of good material to work with this book. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll probably give it a reread around that time before the movie, before the film comes out. So, anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying whatever you're reading, whatever your genre is, or whatever you're interested in, and hopefully, if you guys check this out, you guys enjoy this as well. All right, I'll catch you on the next one.